Hello, everyone, and welcome to this session of Inspiring Women Transforming Science, a virtual event by the Rosalind Franklin Society that highlights successes and spotlights critical change makers. I'm Uduak Thomas. I'm a senior editor at GEN, and I will be your host for this Leadership in National Initiatives session. I'm going to kick things off shortly, but first, it is my pleasure to introduce our distinguished guest for this session. Please welcome Dr. Chad Womack, Senior Director of National STEM Programs and Initiatives at UNCF, the largest and most effective minority education organization in the country. He has a very extensive portfolio and very impressive portfolio, which includes the Fund I Foundation STEM Scholars Program, a $50 million 10-year commitment to support 500 academically talented African American high school students that are pursuing STEM as majors in college, as well as careers in the technology industry. He's also a part of the Just Life Sciences Institute, which includes a postgraduate fellowship program sponsored by Bristol Myers Squibb, the UNCF HBCU Innovation, Commercialization, and Entrepreneurship Initiative, the UNCF HBCU Innovation Summit, and the HBCU Center of Excellence in Computing and Computer Science. Now, before joining UNCF, Dr. Womack co founded the America 21 Project and DC Innovates, both of which are innovation based community and economic development nonprofit organizations that are dedicated to empowering metro centers and underserved communities through STEM education, tech entrepreneurship, and access to capital. His list of accomplishments doesn't stop there. He also led the White House based HBCU Startup and Innovation Initiative, which resulted in the launch of the HBCU Innovation, Commercialization, and Entrepreneurship Initiative. And he was also previously a member of the U.S. Department of Commerce's Economic Development Agency, the National Advisory Council for Innovation and Entrepreneurship, and the DC Mayor's Innovation and Technology Inclusion Council. Dr. Womack, it is my pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, good morning or good afternoon, either one, or good evening for that matter. It is an honor to have an opportunity to share my background and a few thoughts about what I do at the UNCF. My official title is Vice President for National STEM Programs and Tech Initiatives at the UNCF, and UNCF stands for United Negro College Fund, which was founded in 1944 by Dr. Frederick Patterson, who at the time was the president of Tuskegee Institute, one of our flagship historically Black colleges and universities that were founded at the end of the Civil War, with the exception of a few. UNCF is now in its 80th year, and we are proud to say that we have invested over even $6 billion of funding to support the educational aspirations of African Americans in this country who want to go to school, want to go to college, and want to pursue careers. My job at the UNCF is to connect some dots between our HBCU campuses and opportunities in science, technology, engineering, and math, or STEM fields like computer science and tech, bio life science, and biomedical research, medicine, engineering, and we try to make sure that all of our students have access to these opportunities as early as possible through internships. And we often try to open doors for those students who want to pursue careers in STEM fields by connecting them to academic research universities and colleges that are conducting research at the highest levels, biotech, biopharma industry stakeholders and companies, and tech companies like Google, Amazon, Facebook, etc. So I'm very proud to have the opportunity to serve the community and provide these opportunities. I work with my colleagues at UNCF tirelessly to try to connect the dots, open doors of opportunity, and work with our students and, yes, even our faculty who are teaching in those STEM fields as well. My background: born and raised in the city of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and spent um, most of uh, my youth thinking about science. I knew I wanted to be a scientist very early when I was in elementary school, and I was very fortunate to have two parents who were educators. My mother taught first grade her whole life. My dad taught first, second grade, and then moved on to high school and then eventually college administration. I grew up surrounded by educators, and it was a very good experience for me. Quite frankly, I didn't know there was another profession. There were so many teachers that I grew up around. But for me, it was wonderful to have two parents in a community that supported me and supported my educational and career aspirations. I was very fortunate to go to some great schools in Philadelphia that led me to attend Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia, one of our flagship historically Black colleges and universities. And just a moment to talk about HBCUs. A lot of people may have heard about HBCUs, and then some people may not. HBCUs were founded with a specific purpose, and that was to help former slaves integrate into American society. At the end of the Civil War, you could imagine the number of African Americans who were trying to figure out how to um, get educated so that they could get the kinds of jobs to support their families in the community. There were several HBCUs that were founded before the Civil War was over. One in particular, Cheney State Teachers College, now Cheney University, founded in 1837 as the Institute for Colored Youth in the city of Philadelphia. And my parents both went to Cheney and actually met at Cheney. So I am a Cheney baby. I always feel loyal to Cheney. But there were other HBCUs that were founded around the same time as well. Lincoln University in Pennsylvania was one. Wilberforce in Ohio was another one. So HBCUs have enjoyed a very long and illustrious history of educating African Americans and supporting their transition into society. Nowadays, HBCUs have expanded their mission and have begun to pivot around STEM and around research and commercialization. So in my work portfolio, I manage four streams, one of which is the life sciences under the banner of Dr. Ernest E. Just Life Science Initiative, named after Dr. Just, who was an African American life scientist who lived some time ago, who did groundbreaking research. He was born in 1883, died in 1944, was one of the founders of Howard University, our other flagship HBCU, founded in 1867. He actually developed the biological life science curriculum for Howard and also the medical school curriculum, and built a research laboratory at Howard. Dr. Just was a pioneer in that sense. But I also have three other areas, one of which is the Applied Research Institute for Mathematical and Computational Sciences, which is being supported by Google, and ARI, which is short for the full name. ARI is the institute that is engaging HBCU computer science and computer engineering faculty and mathematical sciences faculty who are doing research in those areas like artificial intelligence and machine learning, cybersecurity, fintech, and other areas like that, but also students across the HBCUs to give them opportunities to conduct research during the summers and encourage them to pursue careers after their undergraduate experience. In addition to EE Just and ARI, we run the Tech Pathways program, which encourages computer science majors to pursue careers in the tech industry. That's supported by Google and some other tech companies as well. And finally, last but certainly not least, Tech Ventures, which is really a design thinking lean startup entrepreneurial program, which engages students and faculty around thinking about how they can commercialize technology, um, become tech entrepreneurial leaders for tomorrow, and illuminate a pathway for them to pursue developing prototypes and even thinking about launching startups. So that's my work portfolio at the UNCF. Very proud to say that I was very fortunate to be able to become a life scientist. I did attend Morehouse College, as I mentioned. I was a bio-life science major at Morehouse. I then attended Morehouse School of Medicine as one of the first PhD students there. Had a joint program with Harvard School of Public Health in Boston, where I completed my PhD thesis work focused on HIV/AIDS immunopathogenesis. And I then completed a brief postdoc fellowship at the Harvard AIDS Institute before landing at the National Institutes of Health, National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, where I worked with Dr. Tony Fauci as a postdoc in his lab. And there I had an absolutely wonderful experience. In fact, it was a groundbreaking, life-changing experience to be able to work in Dr. Fauci's lab. He was a phenomenal mentor, phenomenal scientist, clinician, and somebody who had been running the National Institutes of Allergy and Infectious Diseases for quite some time. There in Dr. Fauci's lab, I learned quite a bit about experimentation and helped to frame my scientific thinking around how to identify a research problem and address it in the laboratory. From Dr. Fauci's lab, I went over to the Vaccine Research Center, where I got a chance to really experience what vaccine development looked like. The VRC is a phenomenal place, and many of you probably know that the VRC was instrumental in developing the mRNA COVID vaccine. So that's work that's had been ongoing at the Vaccine Research Center for some time, and thank goodness they were successful in doing that. But since I was at the NIH, I left my position as a postdoc fellow to launch a biotech company called Nanovec, which was really developing a new nanobiotechnology vaccine platform. This was in early, or I should say mid 2000s. And that really gave me a wonderful experience in the private sector and really opened up my eyes as to what was possible in thinking about how to apply scientific thinking to, in this case, vaccine development. And I really enjoyed that experience, learning about how biotech companies are formed, how they grow, how they develop, how they're financed, et cetera. And I took those lessons with me as I engaged the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy, which then led me to UNCF, where I launched the HBCU Startup and Innovation Initiative with some colleagues at the UNCF. And through that initiative, we've been engaging quite a few historically Black colleges and universities, presidents, provosts, deans, faculty, and even students. Over the past 11 years, I've had the pleasure of engaging a variety of HBCUs and encouraging them to think about how to commercialize technology, how to bring ideas off the shelf or out of the mine into the market, and how do we encourage more students to actually think about not just pursuing careers, but also pursuing entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial leadership. So now we're doing quite a bit of work to really encourage more to pursue life sciences. Happy to say we launched the Ernst E. Just Life Science Institute and Society some years ago with support from Bristol Myers Squibb, Genentech Foundation, and even Chan Zuckerberg Initiative. And thank you to our sponsors for allowing us to then grow these programs, engage students at HBCUs, and even some students, African American students who are not at HBCUs but are at predominantly white institutions, to help encourage them to pursue research during the summer. So we launched the EE Just Biomedical Research Program, which is really an undergraduate program that invests in those students who are pursuing life science majors and want to pursue research beyond their undergraduate phase and perhaps even get PhDs and eventually become scientists and faculty members. We're also encouraging them to pursue careers in R&D, in biopharma as well. We want to make sure all the doors are open for them and support their transition wherever they want to go. In addition to the undergraduate biomedical research program, we also have the Ernst E. Just postgraduate fellowship program, where we invest heavily in postdocs who are transitioning from postgraduate training into early faculty career at an academic institution. We have we're very happy to say that we've been successful in promoting that transition for now 6 Just Fellows who are now tenure track at quite a few universities that are Tier 1. And happy also to say we support Black women in science, try to encourage them, recognizing, of course, that the life science and biomedical research field presents some specific challenges for women. So we're trying our best to level the playing field for women, women of color, Black women in particular, in the life sciences. And we're excited to continue that work to support African Americans and even, yes, African diasporic scientists. Lastly, I would say we're establishing the Ernest E. Just Life Science Society as a community, a vibrant community of African Americans and African diasporic scientists and those interested in life sciences and biomedical research. It is an open community that encourages all to join us and support the cause, which is really building a diverse community where African Americans and African diasporic scientists can thrive and contribute to the global biomedical research enterprise. We also have, as part of our mission and vision, desires to engage HBCUs and build the research capacity at historically Black colleges. So we're working with our colleagues there at some of our leading HBCUs and HBCU medical schools as well. I'm a graduate of one, Morehouse School of Medicine, but there are 2 others, actually 3 others. One is Howard College of Medicine, the other is Meharry College of Medicine, and of course, Charles Drew School of Medicine, which is located in Los Angeles, California. So we are doing a lot of work to try to support our institutions, support our faculty, and support our students with the goal of making sure that everybody has access and opportunity to participate in the life science economy. So it's a pleasure to share those thoughts with you and my background and my experiences, and look forward to answering any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chad. That was so interesting and very informative. Thank you. I really resonated with the story of your upbringing because I also come from a family of educators as well. So
Yeah.
that was something that really resonated with me. And I was also very impressed by how your path, starting from academia to industry and then to working in policy, really has very uniquely equipped you for the role that you're in now, because you're able to bring learning and expertise from all those different areas to bear on the lives of young African Americans. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. The famous phrase, life is a series of adjustments. So I've made some adjustments along the way, and a lot of mistakes, to be honest with you. I don't want to come across as saying I knew exactly where I was headed. I didn't. I initially thought I'd be a typical academic scientist and as a faculty member at some research university, but found along the way my interest diverged from what I really originally thought, and found myself being interested in doing different things. And so when I was at the NIH, for instance, I had no idea I'd launch a biotech company. So but it was fun. I enjoyed it, and try not to be as what do you call it, prescriptive in my thinking about how life unfolds.
Yeah, yeah. I like that advice. And I was actually, one of the questions I had for you was, and I'll ask it now on that note, what advice would you have for young people who are coming up now, who maybe have sort of that same mindset of this is the path I'm going to
Mm.
go, and this is the way for me. What would you say to them? Maybe even to a younger version of yourself.
Yeah, it's a great question. Uh, have plans. There's nothing wrong with having plans and a vision for where you want to be. Nothing wrong with that. But just be prepared for serendipity to happen, and be prepared, as serendipity equals the chance and opportunity that's put in front of a prepared mind, right? So prepare yourself as best you can, do well in school, work hard, but stay open to opportunities when they present themselves, and explore, as far and as wide as you can, particularly when you're younger, high school, college, right after college, because typically you don't have a lot of responsibilities. You can move to a different city, or you can, go around the country or the world and experience different things, meet different people, be in different places, and I think that's all to the good as you explore the world. I was very fortunate in my graduate program to do some of my research in India and Africa. I was in Nigeria and South Africa as well. So I had a real global experience that, quite frankly, I had I not been open to the opportunity, I would not have had that experience. And that really opened my eyes to the world and what the world has to offer. So yeah, that would be my advice.
Yeah.
Stay focused, have plans, but be open
Yeah.
to new experiences.
Absolutely, absolutely. I really appreciated that you shared, quite a bit of the history of the United Negro College Fund, also of HBCUs, so that folks are aware of the history of both the organization and these schools and why they're here. And you've done a lot of work in sort of implementing programs on different campuses, or at least engagement on different campuses, and
Yeah.
also fostering partnerships with industry, working on the policy side to try to really make change. I guess if you talk a little bit about some of the current challenges that you're facing in your work, in the work that you do.
Well, the world has changed over the past 5 years, hasn't it?
Yeah.
We've seen and experienced quite a bit. I'm amazed at how resilient African Americans are given the environment. The psychic load on Black America, I think, is quite tremendous, given the impact of uh, COVID, which disproportionately affected Black and Brown communities, and the social political environment. I believe is, and most of my colleagues believe, is in retrograde, unfortunately. So I think, it's been a challenging environment to do this work. And now I think we can almost effectively say affirmative action, the era of affirmative action, is over. With the Supreme Court decision recently, that's had a ripple effect. That's been quite tremendous and significant. Several foundations have unraveled some of their programs that targeted and provided opportunities for African Americans, Latinos, and Hispanic groups. And even the government is not immune from the impact of the decision. So um, this is a difficult environment and terrain to navigate. Nonetheless, UNCF continues to do its work as an organization that provides not just funding, but networking and connections and relationships for Black students who want to pursue careers and opportunities in STEM fields. I happen to work for an organization that I feel very passionate about. We're like a family inside of UNCF. All of us are dedicated. So it's not just me. I hope this audience understands that there are a lot of people that work very hard at UNCF to raise money to support our schools, our faculty, and our students. And so I'm honored to work side by side with my colleagues at UNCF. Um, I would also say that we're fortunate to have corporate partners, foundations that support the cause. And for instance, for the Ernest E. Just Life Science Initiative, Bristol Myers Squibb has been a great partner for the past 5 or so years. Genentech Foundation has been supportive. The Chan Zuckerberg Initiative has also been tremendously supportive. So it's not that we're doing this work alone. We're not. There are people and organizations and companies that do support this as well.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. What's the top of your to-do list for the next year, if I may ask?
Uh, well, hopefully for the break, I'm going to rest and relax for a week or two. But I'm very excited at the prospects of 2024 and what that brings. We have quite a few programs that we run. One of which is the Tech Entrepreneurial Leadership Summit, which we host every year in San Francisco in the Bay Area, where we bring Black students from HBCUs out to the Bay Area to rub elbows with software engineers and venture capitalists and startup founders, and sort of give them a unique exposure to what Silicon Valley is about. There's the Ernest E. Just Biomedical Research Program, which happens every summer now. We've been doing this for 3 years. We have a partnership with Columbia University, which we're proud of. We're also branching out to include other schools that we hope to expand our partnerships with. And then, of course, there are programs that we work in partnership with organizations like the HBCU Founders Initiative, where we co-manage and partner on a program called the HBCU Founders Fellowship Program. And so we're very excited about what 2024 has to offer, and look forward to the new year.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And if I could just ask one more question, are there things that the scientific community could do? Maybe, I mean, it sounds like there's already a lot going on, but are there more things that could be done to kind of help create space and open up doors for students, minority students?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the answer is yes. And it's yes, we need more funding, but it's not just funding. It's about the quality of the experience for the students when they land in a lab. Let's say at a school like Harvard or University of Pennsylvania or Stanford, wherever, where it's an R1 tier one research environment, which is highly competitive. Um, I think academia needs to do a better job of creating that space in the environment in which students of color can thrive, and also women as well. I thought that Neela, the previous speaker, presented a good example of how a government research lab like JPL is trying to, in earnest, create that kind of equitable environment. So I think more of that needs to happen for us to be able to create that ecosystem where everybody can thrive.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much, Chad. This was so interesting. I really enjoyed our conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And that brings us to the end of this session. Thank you once again for joining us. And please do stay tuned for the next session in our program. Thank you so much.